Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to the end of your week. It's time for 2 hobby nightmares today that I think are quite splendid. But before I get into those, if you like what I do, please head on down to Doobly-Doo and Patreon down below and try and support me if you can. If you can't do that, then maybe subscribe to the channel. It's one click for you, but it means a hell of a lot to me. We've just passed 8,000 subscribers. I would love to get to 9,000 before the end of the year. That would be absolutely amazing. My initial target was 10,000, but I think with the way things have gone on YouTube, if I can get to 9, I will consider that a huge success. So thank you very much. Let's get on with some hobby nightmares, shall we? So I don't keep you around all day. Hope you enjoyed the podcast yesterday, by the way. Fun fact, I'm recording this before the podcast. Anyway, Friendly Ghost says, "Greetings, Sir Exile." Oh, sir now, thank you. "This is a horror story about a chap, his bad habits, and his method for transporting his army. So, I will start with a brief description of our main character. He's an individual around the age of 17, with a Demons of Khorne army, and he transports his army in any container he can find, including a cracker tin, which I shall get to later." Right, you know. So, a cracker tin, I'm not sure if you have these in America or Canada, but in the UK we do have tins that are full of, well, biscuits and crackers and things. You can get them from Cadbury's for Christmas, they're very nice. This chap also has a tendency to never buy a book from the store and instead borrow them off the store's shelf. Yeah, pet peeve of mine. Huge pet peeve of mine. I don't mind you borrowing it once. I don't even mind you borrowing it twice. But if you borrow it every single time you come into my store and you don't put any other money behind the till, that's not on. Yeah, I'm providing space to you for you to play your hobby. Least you can do is buy one of your hobby supplies at the store. Now, not all people are created equal, unfortunately, so if this person is coming in and dropping a lot of money on models and other things, sure, he or she can borrow the codex, no problem, until they buy one for themselves. But if they are, and I think this is the kind of person that we're looking at, considering the way that they transport their models, if this is somebody who sees the Warhammer, you know, hobby as a passing fad, and doesn't want to get involved and keeps borrowing my books and putting the sticky fingers all over them, then yes, I will have a problem with that, because at the end of the day, we're not a charity, and I need to keep my store profitable to make money and to keep my job. So, you know, the more people you have in there who you let get away with this kind of thing, it snowballs, and before long, you don't have a store anymore. So, the story begins on a sunny day. I'm sitting on the side of the store painting some Imperial Guard, and there's a table to one side of the shop with a guy standing next to it unloading a Nurgle army. The manager of the Games Workshop is casually talking to a shop regular. It is at this time that the shop door opens and the chap I mentioned earlier walks in. This is when things begin to go downhill. Like clockwork, the lad goes and takes his Demons of Khorne book off the shelf, not even asking the manager for permission. The manager glances over, and I notice him raise an eyebrow, but he doesn't say anything. The lad begins to get settled in, pops his bag down, etc. The manager finishes his conversation and begins coming towards the table that the Nurgle guy and chap I mentioned earlier are standing at. Now, the Khorne guy whips a large soul grinder out of the bag and sticks it on the table. The manager states that he doesn't appreciate people not buying from the store when he allows them to borrow store stock to play with. Aha! Alright, fair enough. Yeah, he has a very... some of you may be getting on to the manager there for saying that, but if this is like the 8th or 9th time this has happened, and he's like, dude, you know, maybe don't say it in front of everybody, because that'll just make the person feel like they're cheap. What if he's poor? You know what I mean? You don't know. So you need to, like, maybe not say it in front of people, and maybe say it to their parents, or if it's him, you know, pull him aside and say, hey man, like, I've just noticed that, you know, I've got, now I don't know anybody's economic situation, but if you're not going to buy anything from the store and you keep borrowing my stuff and messing it up, I can't allow you to keep doing that if you're not going to, you know, support the store in any way. This is what it is. This isn't a free hobby at the end of the day. I know it sounds horrible, but it just isn't, you know. The Khorne guy says that he's not going to pay the full price when he can get it so much cheaper on eBay. Yeah, fuck this guy. Fuck this guy. Yeah, all my sympathy's gone out the window. Do not say that to a store manager. Do not say that in front of other customers. You are the worst kind of person to have in a store. This manager is literally trying to keep his store open and trying to keep a roof over his head with his job. What you're doing is you're sabotaging his store, you're getting shit on eBay, and not only are you doing that, and rather than keeping it quiet, you are coming in and making a big song and dance about it. Now, I know the manager came over there first, I know, but at the same time, private property, he can do what he wants, and if this person isn't putting any money into the store, as it seems like he isn't, and he's obviously bringing stuff from eBay into the store, he's obviously borrowing all of his books to do the game, and isn't putting anything into the store behind the till, this guy needs a talking to. Perhaps not in public, but definitely a talking to. For this person to start talking about eBay in public, yeah, fuck this person. The manager asks him to show a little more respect, and then leaves the conversation to talk to a group of customers that have just walked in. Okay. He glances back to see the corn guy whipping out an orange cracker tin filled with corn miniatures. Then he turns it upside down, and a stream of red demons fall out. There is now a mound of models on the table. The manager turns around, facial expression like he's just seen a ghost, and says, "If you're going to be so bloody disrespectful to my shop and me, then just leave." The chap with this cracker tin shovels his models back into the tin, packs his soul grinder, places the book back on the shelf, then picks up his bag and trots out of the shop, not saying a word, and he is never seen again. Wow. That's the story of the cracker tin. My question is, how would you react if this was your store? Thanks for all the amazing videos and keep up the great work. Regards, Friendly Ghost. I think you already know how I'd react. It would be very similar to the way the manager in this video reacted. I probably wouldn't call a guy out in public. That's probably the only difference I would have made here. I would have tried to find a way to actually pull him aside, or even talk to him outside and say, look, you know, I don't know your economic situation. I'm not here to shame you or anything like that. But if you're buying stuff from eBay, you obviously have money to spend on the hobby. Okay? I can't have you coming into the store borrowing. You can come into the store and play with the models all you want, but I'm not going to allow you to use store stuff to play your games when you're not putting anything into the store. I think that's only fair, right? You go your way, I go my way. If you don't want to buy from the store, that's fine, but I don't have to support you out of the goodness of my heart in the hobby if you don't put anything into my store. That's just fair play, you know what I mean? It's all fair play. You don't need to buy from my store. I respect that. I'd still say you can come in and play at my store. That's not a problem. But I'm not going to support you for free by letting you use my codexes and dice and tape measures and all that for free. No, because you haven't put anything into my store. You never give me nothing, so I don't give you anything. Everyone's a winner, right? That's how I would phrase it, right? The way he's gone about it, yeah. Obviously, this manager's just had enough, and he's just gone over there and reamed him out and said, "Look, this is none." Fair enough, but doing it in public is that's probably what has gotten this reaction out of the player. And whilst the player's reaction is very disrespectful, it's probably a reaction to what's already been done to him. So, you know, I'll let him off for that one. Shin says, "How goes it, North?" It goes very well. The name's Shin. Heads up, there is little foul language in the latter half of this story. No worries, because we are later on in the video and no one's going to care. Anywho, this is a D&D story and a cautionary tale to edgelord dungeon masters. Ooh, something going after a dungeon master rather than a player. I like it. Whilst I plan to submit some stories in the future of some of the shenanigans my first dungeon master got up to, the type of D&D I was used to playing before this was where the DM is less like the referee type and more like playing in a game run by Jigsaw. Again, the guy from Saw, the torture guy from Saw, if you don't know who he's talking about. As a player, I was conditioned that everything was a threat and no one could be trusted, even allies. Yeah, I mean, certain games are okay like that. Those aren't the kind of games I'd want to play in, though. You know what I mean? It just seems like, always seem like the DM's fondling himself under the table for how edgy his story is, you know what I mean? Just like, oh god, dude, come on. Now, this is a story of the first time I played with a group of players away from my first DM. Dungeon Master. One of my high school buddies invited me, and we carpooled to the first game together. I made a human barbarian in a party of your standard adventurers. Cleric, fighter, rogue, and warlock. Our campaign started out with the standard plot hook, where the local monarch's kid had been taken, and our party was tasked with returning the kid safe and sound. My new party mates were all pretty jovial, and there was plenty of side chatter and banter going on. My buddy from high school noticed me being quiet and tense, and tried to engage me in some side banter of our own. I politely just gave enough interaction to not be rude, however I was taking notes of the names given and planning out my actions when we finally started battle. After about half an hour or so of role-playing to get information for our quest, we were finally out of the city gates and on the trail of the kidnappers. Role-playing, mind you, I was pretty standoffish during. In our first encounter, we fought some bandits that were rumoured to have information about the Monarch's kids' whereabouts. The battle went pretty quick. Everybody was rolling well, and the table got raucous at the first natural 20 of the game. 2 of the 5 bandits were still alive at the end of the battle. I will say this for in-person games, like natural 20s and things like that aren't really celebrated on online games as much as they should be. Online games are much harder. I much prefer in-person games if I can do them. Whilst the party chatted out of character what to do next, I asked the Dungeon Master if I could take my turn since we were out of combat, to which he said, "Sure, go ahead. Combat is over. What would you like to do? Check for loot?" I told him I wanted to break the legs at the knee of the 2 remaining bandits and asked if I needed to roll for the action as I readied my d20 to roll. The table chatter went quiet and everybody gave me a what the fuck look. The DM did not ask for any dice rolls and gave me the hint that the bandits were defeated and outnumbered and were tending to their wounds. I proceeded anyway. After the first broken knee, the other bandit quickly blurted out everything he knew and begged for mercy. I halted for the moment and began to ponder this begging for mercy to be a new ploy I had not encountered yet. One of the players asked what the hell was all that about, to which I clinically responded, "Look, I've been in this scenario 100 times. We let these guys go and they come back and slit our throats during camp when we're sleeping." Another player responds on cue, "Well, dude, who hurt you?" After the table broke into laughter, we continued on our little adventure. I loosened up a bit and tried to get into role-playing a bit more. I ended up having a bunch of fun since I was less on edge. Why were you on edge anyway? After we left the game, my buddy was like, "Dude, what the fuck was that?" I told him the games I played in before, everything was against you. The quest giver, the vendors, your own party, with side quests to kill you. Is that not normal? My buddy was like, "No, that's not normal. Our campaigns don't go like that at all. Relax, man. This is a game. Have fun." Ah, okay, now we're seeing why he was tense. Now, this was not one of those and then everyone clapped stories. This was the first session of deprogramming the murder hobo my old DM created. I wanted to shed some light on the impact DMs who are against the players have on the player. Since then, I have played under a bunch of different folks and even run my own games and adopted the referee type of DM persona, where I set up the world and let the players impact the world. I like to present challenges, but no unwinnable scenarios. Ultimately, now I recognise that fact. I was an absolute sociopath for a while whilst playing D&D. If that story wasn't too painful to read, I'll share some more stories in the future. Cheers, thanks, Shin. Yeah, please share some more, because I would love to know how your reprogramming has gone since then. Because, yeah, DMs have a really big impact in programming murder hobos and basically maintaining a really good pool of players for us all to have our games run from. But yeah, as a DM, you have a huge responsibility. You have a responsibility to make sure that everybody at your table is having fun and you're not trying to murder them at any given opportunity. Don't get me wrong, there are some games where that really works. I remember this Dark Heresy campaign that I read about, where a guy was literally saying, yeah, you guys are going to play Imperial Guardsmen, and for 10 weeks straight, he sent them to war zone to war zone to war zone in the same regiment, and he killed all of them every single week until, on the 11th week, they all survived. Like, barely. Well, they started surviving one by one, barely, you know what I mean? Because they're making the right choices, and those characters were rock hard, and then, only then, did he start the Dark Heresy campaign, which I thought was a really cool way of introducing real stakes to the players, but also creating really hard-bitten characters going forward. Now, I don't know as many players who would have the patience for that kind of a thing, but if you do have those players, and you want to kill them, that's the way to do it. Anyway, love you all a long time. Have a wonderful weekend. I may do some streaming over the weekend. I have no idea. If you like what I do, Patreon's down below. Become a member of the channel. And if you can't do either of those two things, then please make sure you are subscribed to the channel or you're liking the video. Love you all a long time. Have a really good one. And I'll see you soon. See ya.